Welcome, readers. Today on Book Chat, we are continuing the 3 Book Bloggers, 1 Series read-along. We're discussing the second book in the Night Huntress series, One Foot in the Grave by Janine Frost. Stay tuned. Hey everyone, I'm your host, Tamara Ford, and welcome to Book Chat here on the Shelf Addiction Podcast. Participate in this book discussion by joining the Facebook group Shelf Addiction Official. Talk about the series with us there, as well as other bookish topics. I hope to hear your thoughts on this book discussion, and you can find all 3 of us on Twitter and Instagram. The links for everything I've mentioned are below in the show notes. If you enjoyed today's episode, please support this podcast by sharing it with some book nerd friends or on your favorite social media space. That will really help me out, and I appreciate you for doing so. The uncut video version of this podcast is available now on Patreon. Join us there for exclusive videos, including the podcast after show. We also have an extra spicy extended conversation about the infamous chapter 32 from this book. So if you're interested in that at all, you'll need to come on over to Patreon and sign up. Before we get started, I have to issue a spoiler warning. This is a roundtable book discussion, so nothing is off limits. You've been warned. We've got a fun hour ahead of us, so let's get started. Welcome back to another 3 Book Blogger, 1 Series read-along discussion, and today we are talking about the second book in the Night Huntress series, which is One Foot in the Grave. Joining me, as always, are my 3 Bloggers, 1 Series read-along co-hosts, Casey and Nicola. Welcome, ladies.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, so let's get started. Casey, why don't you kick us off with the book stats?
So obviously, One Foot in the Grave is the second book in the Night Huntress series by Janine Frost. It was originally published on April 29th, 2008 by Avon. The paperback book has 357 pages, and the audiobook is 9 hours and 45 minutes long, narrated by Tavia Gilbert.
Cool. Okay, Nicola, why don't you run down the synopsis for us?
It says, you can run from the grave, but you can't hide. Half-vampire Kat Caulfield is now Special Agent Kat Caulfield, working for the government to rid the world of the rogue undead. She's still using everything Bones, her sexy and dangerous ex, taught her. But when Kat is targeted for assassination, the only man who can help her is the vampire she left behind. Being around him awakens all her emotions, from the adrenaline kick of slaying vamps side by side to the reckless passion that consumed them. But a price on her head, wanted, dead or half alive, means her survival depends on teaming up with Bones. And no matter how hard she tries to keep things professional between them, she'll find that desire lasts forever and that Bones won't let her get away again.
Okay.
That's the Amazon blurb, so I assume it's the publisher.
All right, cool.
It's the same as what's on the back of the book, so.
Okay, that's nice. They didn't change it.
You never know. So.
You never know.
Okay, so we pick up some years later, which was a little jump that I had forgotten about.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which was good because, Kat has matured a little and...
Some.
As you know.
Arguably.
Well, I question that at times during this book. But, she's gotten some more fighting under her wing. She's gotten a lot more powerful. She's definitely built up a reputation for herself.
Yeah, she's very badass, very angry.
I like her leadership capabilities, the way she sort of leads the military guys and keeps them in line.
They really respect her.
Yeah.
And they have her back for the most part, which is something that you kind of wouldn't guess would be so easy. And I guess we got to skip the hard part of her kind of getting in sync with that group. And we just are presented with, hey, this is the team. Everybody knows what they're doing. Everyone's got everyone's back. And we just have to accept that whatever trial she went through to get there, they happened, and we're over it.
We see a little bit with Cooper because he's still new to the team. He's only been there like a couple months. But yeah, no, for the most part, the team is solid. Everybody trusts and respects her. She will put them in a coma if they piss her off.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, they respect that.
I feel like it's a really, I don't know what the word, a really blatant physical pecking order. Like once she kicks their ass, then they're like, oh, okay. And then once they see her take down a vampire and they have that interaction and they know how hard that is, then they're like, oh, this is the only way I'm getting through this alive. You know?
Yeah. I've never been in the military, but I think it reads how I would think that a military situation would be. You know, it's rank, it's command, you just, no person left behind.
Yeah.
You just kind of, even if you don't like what they're doing or you don't like them, you get in line because that's what you do.
Yeah, I agree. And same, you know, I've not been part of the military. So if it's completely wrong, I'm not the person to tell you that, but it rings true to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, okay. So we kick off the book. I think that started with her going after a master vampire, if I remember correctly.
Ian.
And I'm like, oh, Ian. Oh, fun times.
I have to say, you know, it's a reread for all of us. I didn't remember the plot line of this book at all. So it was almost reading it for the first time.
Same, but you know, when I looked on Goodreads, it was 2013 when I read it. So that was a long time ago.
It's been a while. It's been 2 years for me.
Okay.
So I was late on this bandwagon, and I picked it up a couple of years ago and binged it all summer long.
Okay. But of all the books, this plot line is the most wild. And like it starts, you know, with her and Ian and then her and Noah. And, you know, it's almost 100 pages into the book before Bones even shows up. And everything after that is just one crazy batshit thing after another.
I really liked how they just threw us into this sort of vampire society, the social rules, the hierarchy that we know nothing about and Kat knows nothing about.
Clearly.
And right. And I liked how that unfolded for us at the same time as it unfolded for Kat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it totally threw her for a loop. Like she's got all the physical stuff down. She knows how to deal with the bad vamps, but to sort of figure out how to fit into all this stuff that's going on. And it's still adversarial. It's not exactly like she's in a ball gown and ready to be inducted into their society or whatever. But, you know, so I liked that it was kind of a different angle of being a half vampire than we got in the first book, you know?
Yeah, in the first book, I think it was more about her kind of accepting herself and stuff. And I think she's well beyond that now. And she's in a different place as far as self-acceptance. And she's gotten to a new place in this book as far as people accepting her vampire boyfriend. She gives zero fucks right now. She's like, I don't care. Y'all better deal with it. And I like that about
this is how it is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I do like how she deals with Dawn.
Dawn. Oh God, I forgot that happened in this book where she like finds out that's her damn uncle. I'm like, oh, that's right.
Yeah, that was a good twist. A good twist.
Like you send your niece out there to kill, you know,
your
fight
blood.
These really hard situations where she could literally die. You just bye, see ya. Like, oh, that's so rude.
And he still doesn't trust her.
He doesn't.
4.5 years later, he's like,
well, you know. He's so ambivalent about vampires. He's just like, they're all bad.
Well, I mean, his brother did turn evil, so.
Was his brother evil before he turned, though?
I think he was. I think maybe he might not have shown it. But I think Kat even says, or maybe Bone says, I forget who said, but like it just enhances who you are already. Like it. So if you're kind of if you're an asshole, you're gonna be an even worse asshole once you're a vampire. So,
you know, the other time that you hear that about drinking a lot is that if when somebody drinks, it kind of brings out their underlying either they just get happier and more jovial, or they get more and more jerky. The other place I've heard that, I had an office mate at work for about a year that was a paraplegic, and he said that was true of a wheelchair incident too. Like if you are in an accident that confines you to a wheelchair, it can either like bring out, it just enhances whatever you are to start with. I thought that was an interesting observation. So a little off topic, but it's kind of like some life experience. But yeah, it's that when you go through like a big trial, it kind of, if you're a naturally optimistic person, you eventually come out of it, and if you're not, then it can make it a lot worse.
Yeah, I can see that, and just think about that over decades. So you're already a gross human being, and then just you're strong. No one can really stop you. You can do what you want. You just really settle into your nastiness the longer you're around.
Yeah. So then you hire hitmen to kill your daughter.
Yeah,
makes sense. Makes total sense.
That's a natural progression from what I said.
Wouldn't you think he'd reach out first to try to? I don't know. It's like, he's maybe the least developed character, and he totally doesn't really get his moment in this book, I don't think.
No, but we'll see more of him later.
Right.
But yeah, no.
But yeah, he's just like, he's pretty flat at the moment. So
evil for evil's sake.
Yeah. Like, why wouldn't you try to turn your daughter more evil? Right? Try to recruit her to your side. I don't know.
Oh yeah, he could have tried. It would have been interesting.
Like if he had paid attention to what was going on when she was growing up, he could have like been in a whole different kind of position in the hierarchy, right?
Mm-hmm. He didn't, but Dawn did. Dawn was watching her since she was born.
Yeah.
So why didn't he step in earlier with the military or anything?
He's waiting on her to be psycho like the other vampires, just like her mother. It's like they were both watching her, waiting for her to
flip.
Yeah, to just freak out and just go eating everyone or something.
Yeah, her mother is such an interesting character in this series. She doesn't have much play in this book, but
no. I think she's another character that's pretty flat in this book as well. She's still kind of the same person as she was in the first book.
Yeah.
To be fair, so is Kat. Kat is very not mature, and she has a lot of the same personality traits as she does before. Like, she still thinks she's the only one who can do the thing.
Yeah.
She doesn't trust Bones. She doesn't ask him, which is why, at the end, she's like, I'm just going to kill my dad right now.
Oh, my God.
Okay,
let's just talk about that for a millisecond.
Do we want to go right to the end? Because that was definitely the biggest WTF moment in the book.
That whole thing. Okay, so first, she has already had a situation where she's kind of like caught herself jumping the gun where she didn't know everything, right? She's already been through that at least once. And then she's so about her feelings, so enraged, so in her feelings, she does not think. She doesn't pause to think. She just acts. And then she just gets herself into these situations. And by the love of Bones, he pulls her out of it.
Yes, that's exactly what happens, by the love of Bones.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just like a Picard double face palm moment, It's just like, oh my God.
Like, what are you she is as a person? This is her character. This is her personality. And it's been 4.5, 5 years, and she's doing the same exact thing.
Yeah, it's like she can't see the big picture no matter what. I mean, she almost got out of there scot-free until she opens her big mouth.
Yeah.
Like, girl.
Oh, kitty cat.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to be fair, she's the product of her parents.
Yeah, she has no role model, right? She's the only one that's half and half. She has no understanding of the society that she's learning about. And that's partly her own fault because she leaves Bones behind and for his own good. And so
Yeah, think about if they had been together for these 4.5 years. She would have known so much more. She would have known she would have had the time to learn.
Well, she would have never tried to off Ian.
No, that's
Like, she would have seen, if she'd been with Bones the whole time, then she would have known more about the whole hierarchy sires thing.
She probably would have met Ian.
Right?
Because they're friends.
Yeah.
So that never would have happened, period.
Yeah.
Yeah, which she goes and I guess her humanity is shining through because at the beginning when she goes to kill him and she realizes, oh, this is one of Bones' friends. This is her, the guy who made him or whatever. She's like, okay, I'll throw you a Hail Mary. Okay. You can walk away from this thing. We'll walk away. Okay. This is your one go. Okay, go. And it bites her in the ass, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Ian is not going to go easy on her. So.
No. But she's got the skills. I mean, she had him. She could have killed him. Probably
her silver knife was in his heart. All she had to do was twist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The other thing that I think could have made this all go away is if Bones had just told Ian, like, no, this is the one that I've been, this is my girl, like, I don't understand why that didn't happen.
Maybe, okay, so I got the vibe that Bones felt that Ian is almost like obsessive about something he sets his sights on. So, like, even if he told him, hey, that's the girl I've been moping after over 4.5 years, he still wouldn't give a care because he's already decided in his mind he wants that for one of his toys or something. I feel like that's what they were trying to express.
That is what the text said. It feels like, are you guys friends or not? I mean, I don't.
They're not friends. I mean, they're family. They're not friends. Like he made him. He's in his family line. But, we all have those family members. Like, if we weren't family, would I be your friend? Unlikely, but...
I don't know. I feel like that relationship is maybe doesn't feel consistent through these two books. But...
Well, we know...
Well, we never saw Ian in the first book.
No, we didn't. But Bones talked about him,
Yeah.
He might have some respect for him. He probably... I guess he doesn't feel bad about him turning him. Exactly.
I don't know if Ian is just like a megalomaniac or what, but then there wouldn't have been a book, so I guess it couldn't go that way. Right?
Yeah. So we get to meet Ian, and I'm like, oh yeah, here he is. And then another like kind of offshoot to this whole Ian thing was I was like, oh, Mancarys, yes, we get to see Mancarys.
I forgot he showed up this early.
Yeah.
So you listened to the audiobook, right?
Yes.
Tamara, that's how they pronounced it?
Mancarys, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I love about an audiobook. I would have never known how to say that name looking at the spelling.
Yeah, I probably would have been using the CH differently, Mancharis or something like that.
Oh, no, it's Mancarys. Well, that's how Tavia Gilbert decided to pronounce it. And Janine Frost must have said, okay, because that's how
I wonder if the authors do that. Do they give a pronunciation guide for the
sometimes? Audiobooks? Well, depending on the author. Yeah. We can get into that later, what I've heard from different authors and narrators. But yeah, sometimes not. So. But yeah, I love seeing him. I'm like, oh God, this is like the brand of this series.
Yeah, and Ian's like, you always take his side.
Take his side. He's like, shut up, man. This is not about that.
Pout.
Yeah, go sit in
you
your
always
corner.
did like him better. Daddy's favorite.
Oh Lord, like just go take a seat somewhere. Like he is the worst.
Ian does not come out very well in this book.
No, he doesn't come across very well. But Mancarys does. And I like that he seems like the stable, let's think things through. He kind of he's so powerful, but yet he tries to kind of be low key about it. He's got all those same vibes that I get from Bran from the Patricia Briggs series.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he can read minds.
He can read minds. And apparently he can read half vampire, half human mind. But because, they all assumed he couldn't read vampire minds, but that could have just been a secret he's been keeping playing close to the vest or whatever.
Yeah.
But they're like, oh, surprise, he heard what you said. Like, oh.
That was a fun scene where she's thinking terrible things and he's like, tell me more.
Yeah, please do. Keep talking, why don't you? Kat, there again, she shows her personality of like, but at least she had common sense to keep most of it to herself, even though someone was still reading her mind. But still, it's like,
you can't necessarily stop yourself thinking what you think,
Oh my gosh. No. I would hate for someone to be around me that could read minds. I don't think they'd be very happy.
No. I would be terrible.
Kind of like, that's on you. I wasn't going to say it, but if you're going to intrude, then you get what you get.
If you're going to listen.
Like, eavesdroppers never hear anything good about themselves,
no.
right?
So that's your bad. You looked.
Yeah. You could have been blissfully ignorant.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, so since we're talking about the vampires in the book, Annette. Oh God, Annette.
Oh God. Cat fight.
It is
literally.
Okay, so Annette is so jealous. She is so jealous. And she just says whatever she knows will tick Kat off. And she's like thinking that she'll be able to have this whole, like, let's go a couple rounds while they're gone. And fail, #fail. Like, they're yelling, they're fighting so loudly that Bones could hear them like 2 miles away. He rushes back. And she's trying to clean up.
I know. She's like,
it's like, don't tell Dad. Have you ever done that? Like, got in a fight with your sibling, and then when you hear your parents coming, you're just like, shh, no, nothing happened. We're good.
Nothing happened. We're good. Yeah,
it's fine. It's fine. I'm just, it's all good.
Brush it off. We're just doing Pilates.
Yeah,
we're fine.
That's right. That was a funny line. Yeah.
Pilates, Lord. They wrecked that
He pulls out
room.
her bloody knife and he's like, are you sure you're doing Pilates?
All the furniture's broken.
Yeah.
And the next morning, like, there's no place for anybody to sit. The furniture's all shattered.
Poor Bones. He's like, do you think I'm a damn idiot? Like, okay. I can't. Like, both of you, man. The both of you. But he went in on Annette, though. He went in on her.
Yeah. So when you were a kid, did your parents ever use the line, how stupid do you think I am?
Yep.
Like, mine used that a lot. And when I had kids, like, then I suddenly understood it a lot. Yeah.
Like, they know. You're not tricking anybody.
Oh, and it's so funny when they're little and they're just like, oh, I don't know what. And you're just like... I said something to my dad once when my kids were small. I'm like, now I get it. He's like, yeah, it's kind of insulting.
Yeah. Yeah, you just think you're dumb as a doorknob, but you'll never know. I can
totally get away with this.
No, yeah, right.
So, yeah, it's very much like that.
Yeah, for sure. Which is like gonna be an interesting relationship between Annette and Kat forever. They're always going to have this I hate you but I'll deal with you kind of thing, I think. Anyway, that's how it's set up anyway. Well, I guess anything could change, but
I like that they just kind of hashed it out, right?
For now
and Kat got the last word, so to speak.
Oh, she definitely did.
Screaming orgasm.
She definitely did.
Like, or we could do this and she'll hear everything. And
I mean, oh God, I guess whatever you feel you need to do to stake your claim, girl, because she is the most jealous. And I mean, I think she showed herself being a little jealous in book 1, but my goodness, it really came out in this book how jealous she really is.
Oh, no, in book 1, there was that scene where she, like, grabbed Bones' lap in front of the other one.
Yeah, she did do that, but like, I just feel like it was amplified.
Territorialism.
Well, she's like, that times 100 in this book. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's over the top, but But that's the book. That's the series, right?
That's just Kat as a person.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
She's over the top about everything. So
no, I think you said it right, Nicola. I feel like this whole book, the whole series is kind of over the top. Like nobody's low key. Nobody.
Right?
They're all like extreme
Noah.
versions of people, like personalities.
Who are you saying?
Except Noah, her first human boyfriend.
Yeah.
He was like so low key that you didn't even see him.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's also an extreme version. I feel like he's
he's a red shirt.
Yeah, he's so.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is even the point of him being there? Really, I don't know. I guess just so she'd have someone to fight for at the end there, but
I think he kind of helps in the series. Points up that Kat is just never going to be normal, right? That she can't.
She's never going to be human.
She's never going to be human. She's never going to get over Bones. She's never going to pass for human, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Noah is kind of her, the nail in the coffin on her human side, maybe.
But honestly, as a fully human woman, I would have fallen asleep on Noah.
Yeah, boring.
I'm sorry, you're cute, but no. Pass. Thank you, next.
He likes animals.
Oh my God.
He's cute, but thank you, next.
I mean, he was so nervous, even like asking her out. I'm like, that's painful. That alone was painful.
So painful.
Like,
so painful.
Like, how do you get a girlfriend like that, dude? I'm sorry. Just, I don't know.
Not very well. I mean,
he's the worst.
Oh, well.
But, he's away. He escaped and he has like no memory of what happened to him. So
That's good.
The door is closed. I think the other part is it gives Bones a chance to show his territorialism too. He's like, that's the only reason that this guy is still alive.
Oh my gosh, that was hilarious. He's like, oh, if I had heard you guys doing anything else in there but you dumping him, oh, he'd be dead right now. Like, And I mean, I kind of get that kind of possessiveness. I understand it, right? Obviously, people aren't about sharing, and I can get down with the I'm not sharing zone, especially after Annette talks about all the stuff they've done over the decades or whatever.
Sounds like he's totally into sharing.
Well, he was, but Kat's like, I'm not about that life, and he's like, fine.
Yeah.
Been there, done that. It's cool. Good thing he sowed all his wild oats because
he's all
it was
done
practice
with that.
for her.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I like to look at it from these books. The man whore trope, I guess.
Which, my feminist self feels like, why does he get to be the man whore and she has to be the one that had a boyfriend she never slept with because she was still fawning over him? But he went off and did almost crazy things. Well, he did do some things with Annette, but almost more than that with her while they were separated. I don't know. I just...
So side note, in the outtakes... So there's a book about deleted scenes from the series. And in the outtakes from this book, she does have sex with Noah, but it's the most saddest sex scene that you've ever... Like, it was just... I read it and I cringed. And
okay, wait. So the outtakes goes completely against this book because she told Bones in the book that she did not sleep with him.
No. They never had sex. This was deleted scenes that... Okay. Janine's editor was like, no, you got to take this out.
Oh, so it was sad. You had to take it out.
Yeah, no. It was, so in an alternate version of this book, they did have sex, but then they took it out. So this is the real version. There's no sex in the version. But if you want to read the deleted scenes, they do have sex. And it's just like, let me eat my vanilla ice cream while watching Grey's Anatomy.
While watching Grey's Anatomy, that's like half-assed. That's like you're not even all in at that point.
Like, why back and think of England?
Yeah, no, it was... If we want to do like a side episode about the deleted scenes, we can talk about it in more detail, but...
Well, I don't want to read that if that's how it is. I mean...
Well, you don't. You read it to mock it. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, you read it and it's like, oh my God, no.
I'm so glad that was gone. You know,
Yeah.
now I see why it's taken out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, Kat's not a virgin when she meets Bones, but she's had zero good experience before him, right? So, what's his name? Danny.
And Danny's dead.
Danny's dead, yay! Because Rodney took care of him.
Nom nom nom, yum.
Yeah.
He's full. He doesn't want anything else to eat.
Do we want to talk about?
Painless.
Do we want to talk about Dave?
Oh, Dave. Let's talk about Dave. So he was on the team and he got taken out really quick.
Yeah, right at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or was it the end of the last book? No, it was this book.
No, it was this one. It was in the cave.
Right.
That hole when he was they were trying to feed him blood to come back.
Danny. And he
right.
died.
So we have your lover here. She's like, oh no, Bones. Like, oh wait, what? What?
Again, she's not thinking. She's just like, it's Bones. It's Bones.
Yeah.
It's got
but
it's her only lover.
But it makes sense because it's Bones' cave, right? So
yeah.
I mean, I was totally, and I've read the book before, and I was like, I was believing it. So,
well, I mean, that's good. It was believable. I mean, I did believe it too, but so he gets taken out, he dies, which was weird for me because we find out that he gets to come back. Not as a vamp, but as a ghoul. But it was like, you've been dead for how long? 3 months? Is that what they said?
Yeah.
Like, ooh, that's a long time.
Now we're talking about
for your
Dave,
body.
not Danny.
Oh, Dave, yeah.
For the readers.
Dave. That's a long time for your body to just be like chilling in the ground.
Full of formaldehyde. So.
Full of formaldehyde.
And
maybe that helped.
Some vampire blood. Like his neck did start healing before he died. So there was some still left over.
That was the key. That was the thing that made it possible.
Wouldn't the formaldehyde wash that out?
Don't go getting scientific.
Oh.
I have to think about this.
I'm just saying. Oh, yeah.
Vampire blood. It's magic.
It's magic. Okay. It held on just enough time for him to change back, which I can get with because I like his character.
Yeah, it just goes to that, nobody left behind spirit that they have in their group. So that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
And they had this whole, I guess, kind of come to Jesus moment when they decided to bring Dave back. Like Tate and
Cooper
and Juan. They were all like, oh, we missed you, man. We love you. We don't care what you eat. You're great.
Yeah. Well, they'd had the meeting in the compound, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where was it Bones that said, he's gonna be vulnerable, and he needs to know that you guys have his back, and I like that. I like that. It makes the military guys a little more human to show some emotion there.
Yeah, poor Juan. He's like, you guys, these guys are so fucking boring. I need you. Need you around. I can't take it.
I like Juan. He's my favorite.
Yeah, Juan's amazing. I was just going to say, I appreciated the fact that all three of them cried. All three big, surly men cried. I was like, oh, I love it. Men crying. I love it. They're showing their emotions.
I know. It's attractive.
Not
up to a point.
Stupid emotions. Yeah.
Up to a point. You don't want the guys to be the whiny babies, but
not that much. No,
but to have the ability to do so is important.
Yeah, the ability to do so is good.
Mm-hmm. So
we want to go on this Tate tangent because I have feelings about Tate.
Let's do it. Let's go. You start. I know you have feelings about Tate.
I do not like Tate. I do not. As I'm rereading it, I like him less and less. He is a whiny man-child. He needs to pull his ass out of his head. And I cannot say more because I don't want to spoil the series. But this man baby needs to just rip his head out of his ass. Please and thank you.
He is a man baby. Like the minute he saw a cat with a vampire, he went running back to tattle on her.
Yeah.
Like you are the worst. Yeah. tattletale, whiny, oh, how dare you turn on us and sleep with a vampire? Ah, like, get out. Like,
but I loved how she handled it. She's just like, that's my business. You either trust me or you don't.
And she calls out Juan. She's like, how many women have you been sleeping with?
I know,
how
like, you're the biggest man whore.
Checks?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't check his 100 skanks that he was rolling through in the last however many years. I don't know.
Yep. On one for sure. Yeah, the double standard. And this is all written, before the whole Me Too thing, which I think changes things a little bit. So, I don't hate Tate. I don't know. I think he's got more complexity than most of the other guys, which makes him more interesting to me. And to be, in all fairness, he really wants her, but he knows he knows that it's not reciprocated, and he's not an asshole about it. He's not. I don't know. Doesn't hit on her. He's not in her face about it. He knows he basically has no chance, and he's just kind of pining. But I like that he gets with Annette. I think that's a really interesting twist for him, after being such a jerk about Kat being with Bones. She's like, okay, so now you're a necrophiliac too.
Right. Well, I mean, she calls him out more than once. Like, I'm half vampire. You are trying to get with me. I'm a vampire. Like, you're doing that. And then, of course, when he finally gets with Annette, he's like, she's like, well, what are you doing? Like, you talking smack about me? Look at you, knee deep in over there. Like,
once you go dead, you never go back.
Apparently,
I can't remember what they said about that.
Oh, wait, here it is. Here's the quote. Okay. You know that old saying, once you go dead, there's no one better in bed. That's the quote.
That's it.
Okay, that's a little bit of work.
Well, that's the quote from on Goodreads. So,
all right, yeah.
It sounds right.
Yeah. So,
but no, Tate was pining, but then as soon as she starts talking to Noah, he freaks out, and then Bones shows up and he flips out and he tattles on her like a freaking baby, just like, and then he can't, I don't know, just deal with it. It's always there. It's always, I want you. I've always wanted you, and you're ignoring me. Wow, 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 wow. Obviously, I have feelings about this.
Yeah.
I'm not going to try to talk you out of your feelings, Casey. But now I know it's a losing battle.
Yes.
I'm saying that I kind of enjoy the complexity there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see the complexity, but sure. You can enjoy it. I
like Tate more. But in this book, I can't. I mean, he's just kind of a nuisance to me in this book. I don't hate him, but I don't love him. I just kind of think he's annoying, like that annoying bratty kid to me in this installment anyway. I like even Don better than Tate in this book.
I definitely don't like Don.
Me too.
I like Don. I feel like he's he's nowhere near as bad as her mother, but I feel like he's going to go a long way in a short amount of time. Like, just because their goals align, and now that he's admitted that this is his niece, I mean, or not, well, now that he's been called out that this is his niece.
Called out on it.
The relationship's going to change. And I think I'm excited to see what develops there.
Oh, for sure. He's definitely growing and being called out and,
Well, that's the thing that makes me like him less, right? To see that he's been family all along and he's still kind of an asshole, and he doesn't trust her. He doesn't, I don't know, that makes me like him less. So with Tate, there's some passion, right? Don is so cold. It's I don't like him. But.
See, I don't see him as cold. I just feel like he was just so turned off by his brother. Like, his brother was doing the same thing he was doing. They were both kind of hunting scary monsters, and then his brother becomes a scary monster. So, I don't know. I just feel like I have a level of empathy for him, I guess. I don't know. And I just have good hopes for him, maybe. But, and like I said, I don't hate Tate. I don't dislike him. He's just kind of there for me right now. We'll see. Because we've got a long road with this team. Yeah.
Agreed.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Oh, so let's talk about Kat's dad. Did we already talk about him?
A little bit, but we can go back.
A little bit. We talked about the end.
Yeah, we did talk about him. I just wonder, like, and honest to God, don't remember. Like, when do we? I feel like Kat's gonna get her final go around with him, but I wonder how long we have to wait.
I don't remember. I do think it comes up.
I think it's book 4.
Okay.
I honestly don't remember, but it's
I don't remember
sooner
either.
rather than much later.
Because she's like, okay, you got away now. Like, I'm not done with you. Like, that's going to be a fight.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A declaration of war.
Yeah. Shots fired. Like, damn. But, I mean, what do you expect? You know, you raped the girl's mother. But, you know, that's something I want to talk about. So, I don't know.
His story is different from hers.
His story is very different from Kat's mother's story.
It is, but, you know, I don't buy the way he describes it, that it's not rape, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would need to read that again. But he's like, it wasn't rape. She was into it until she knew I was a vampire. I'm like, that's still kind of rape. Because, you know, if you're coming into it under false circumstances and you're planning to drain her dry when you're done and she freaks out because you're a vampire, I don't think that's not rape. You know?
So I think what caught me about his description of what was going on was not so much the rape thing, because I still think it was, but the fact that I feel like she was, what is the word that I'm looking for? I feel like all of her feelings about vampires and thinking that they're all the devil and stuff, he said that. And when he was saying that, he had green-eyed her.
Yeah.
So I don't think that she just heard him and repeated it. I think that he accidentally, like, made her, like, internalize that. You know how when they green eye you and they tell you what to do, you do it.
Like
I think he did that to her.
Kind of thing.
So,
yeah.
So it's ingrained in her now. All of them are devils. You're half devil. This is what, you know, I don't think it's just her personality that's doing it. I think it's some influence from Max.
For sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So he, in turn, has kind of made Kat's life hell for green-eyeing her mother. Like, why would you do that? It's already bad enough what you did. Like, add that on top of it. Like,
well,
make her miserable and scared of, you know.
Well, that's one of the reasons why we don't like him, right? Because he's a jerk.
Mm-hmm.
It's the mystery is why he didn't kill her, you know?
Yeah. Why didn't he just kill her?
He didn't know that he could get her pregnant, right?
True.
But if you're screaming bloody murder at this point.
What's his name again?
Maximilian?
Maximus.
Maximus?
That's what it says on Goodreads. I don't know. You know the character list?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But I don't know. I just feel like he should have just killed her, but then we'd have no cat. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I just want a real explanation as to why he didn't kill her. He could have just...
Yeah, I think the well-behaved vampires don't kill their meal tickets, right? That's what gets them in trouble with their sires or whatever.
Well, the well-behaved vampires don't rape people either. So they go to those clubs.
Can we just go back to that?
What? Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, he's like 2 days old. Like, he was just barely changed. And he has enough strength to just have sex and leave her alive?
Oh,
I know we haven't seen a change yet, but it's in this series we see other vampires change, and I don't think any of them could have done that. And
well, it's a couple. It's within a week or two. It's not like the minute he was changed.
Okay, I thought it was like 2 days.
I can't remember.
And I could be remembering wrong, but I thought that this series kind of stayed in line with that theory that new vampires are stronger. Very strong. Like, not
definitely
weak.
strong, but they're
Stronger than
very
humans.
susceptible to the bloodlust.
Right. They don't have the willpower. They don't have the self-control, I think is what Casey's getting at.
Okay, so then, how could he have the self-control? Even 2 weeks in. I mean, for them, it takes decades, right? Or years.
A while.
I don't think we know that. We'll see
vampires change later in the book, so we can talk about it more later. I don't want to get too...
there's a scene in chapter 32 when Kat gets some of Bones' blood and she's like, more, I need more. And he's like, pins her and keeps her from...
like, whoa, chick.
You know, so I think, no, but he expected it, right? But
he did.
He was ready for it.
I feel like it's in that moment of changing. So I don't know how long that moment lasts, but obviously Max was kind of roaming around without is it Ian that changed him? Keeping tabs on him. So, and Ian seems like a responsible sort of master vampire.
But this is another thing, though. Okay, so if we want to talk about Ian being responsible as far as his people, I mean, he did check Max, like, during that event. He's like, hold on, what now? What did you say happened? What did he do? You know, like, he was not aware of what Max was doing on the side. So, he's a newly turned vampire. Why would Ian just let him be wandering around on its own to get into trouble? I just feel like that wouldn't be in Ian's best interest as someone who just turned somebody. That seems weird too, but okay. I'll just take it. I'll just accept it, I mean. But how he runs his house, from what we've seen, it doesn't seem like he'd be that type of, father, quote unquote. Like, he wouldn't just turn him and unleash him on the street.
Let him loose. Yeah.
Doesn't seem that way. I don't know. But again, if he did what he was supposed to do, we wouldn't have Kat. So, I mean, I just think some supporting evidence as to why this was able to happen would be nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we're overthinking it a little bit.
Are we, though?
Yeah, I think we are.
I don't know. I mean, I guess it comes down to, it is what it is. Just take it at face value. But, I mean, sometimes it's hard. So, but I'm glad Kat's here. So it is what it is. Well, we'll roll that around to that, I guess. There was somebody else I wanted to talk about while I was in the throes of that conversation. Oh. I wanted to talk about chapter 32. Okay.
Okay, let's do it.
We have to. It's quite famous. So
the infamous chapter 32.
The infamous chapter 32.
So when I'm reading the chapter, I'm like, I don't think I was remembering it how it was.
Okay.
I'm reading and I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Cool. And then I was like, oh. I don't know.
I love your face right now. Your visual expression.
So, I mean, I don't.
So, if you want to see us on video, you guys gotta. What is it? Going to Patreon.
Yeah, head on over to Patreon.
Yeah.
So you can see
just worth it for just this last couple of minutes.
One moment.
But I don't know. I expected to love everything about chapter 32. I had such warm and fuzzies, but then when I reread it now, I'm kind of like, okay, it's fine. It's hot. It is, but it's not for 100% for me. 100%. I will not say.
So for those of you who haven't read the book yet, chapter 32 is the entire chapter is vampire sex and quite
gone
over the
wild.
Top. We talk about over the top. This was Bones lets loose. So Bones gone wild.
Because Kat says,
yes,
in retribution for Annette and her fighting, Bones needs to let loose on her and give her all the screaming orgasms she can possibly handle. And she wants to be scandalized the next morning when she wakes up. And Annette will hear everything. Screaming detail.
Well, and it's partly prompted by Annette saying he's holding back. He's holding back.
Was.
You don't even
Which he was.
And he totally was, right? So in some ways, Annette is responsible for chapter 32 being chapter 32.
I am all about Unleash the Freak, dude. Let me see what you got. Okay, let's see what
Are you though?
got.
I'm not sure that
I am, but one thing. That's it. I'm anti one thing, but that's just a personal choice. But everyone can make that choice for themselves. So this is a judgment-free zone.
Well, you know what they've been saying about the 21st century sex scenes is the anal is the new oral. So
what?
Oh, you've never heard that?
No.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I've heard that.
Well, this book was published in what, 07, 09?
2008.
I was close.
Yeah, you were in the wheelhouse.
You did.
I mean, you read it at the beginning of the cast. So the level of heat was turning way up in the in the aughts, right? And and this was pretty scandalous, I think, in that era. Since then, there's so much erotica on the market. There's so much of everything. I think you can be a little jaded about what's on the page, but wow, it's a ride. And really it holds up, I think, in comparison to, the last 10 years of post 50 Shades of Grey, people trying to outdo themselves and be more outrageous than the last scene.
Yeah, that scene for 2008 was extra juicy for 2008.
Yes.
For 2020, it's not as scandalous as it was then.
What I have to say, one of my favorite things, a couple years ago, Casey had a book convention, and one of the panels was people reading scandalous scenes out loud. And Casey, you weren't there, but oh my God, it was the best. It was the best. And there were some people that read some really bizarre things, and our friend Jackie read this chapter, like the whole chapter.
Oh damn.
And everybody was just like,
And this was 2015, so it was still like right on that cusp of early 50 Shades stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I don't know. I feel like it's not. 50 Shades was like 2012, so.
Oh, never mind then.
Yeah. There was some really weird stuff getting read in there, but
that when people talked about like the meat curtains.
Yes.
The vagina
meat
lips.
Curtains. What?
Yes.
I moved my hands.
I don't know. What are you guys talking about now? What is this?
I don't want to know. Stop.
Euphemisms for lady parts.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
Yeah. No, I think
that's a thing, huh? That's a thing.
Yeah, I think Aaron Michael Ritchie was the one that ran that session, and he had the most messed up. It was not a romance. Okay. It was not erotica. It was just this very weird, I don't know, volcano analogies were made.
Alrighty.
It was something.
Oh man, I need a vodka tonic. Where's my vodka?
Oh my God, can we talk about how much of an alcoholic she is?
Oh yeah, was she doing gin and tonic or something?
Gin and tonic.
Just give me the bottle of gin at the wedding.
Oh my God, even Bone said, like, I'm kind of concerned about how this is like, your comfort thing or whatever he said.
Your security
blanket. He's like, let me just give you the gin. Here you go. Calm down.
And she's like, I just like the taste.
I get with that because I like the taste. I get with that, but I don't drink it all the time like her, though. She guzzles this stuff by the gallon.
Well, she can't get drunk because she's half vampire. So everything she drinks is like drinking water. It doesn't affect her at all.
Mm-hmm.
I think it does if she drinks enough, a little bit. So, like a
little
bottle.
bit, but
like in the first book where she drank that whole bottle with the ghost, and he's like, "Who told you to drink that much?"
That was moonshine. That was insane moonshine. And even Bob's like, "I would never drink that."
Yeah,
That was a
This
funny
is just
scene.
regular everyday gin that she's like guzzling that I could go out and buy and guzzle, which I won't because I'm not an alcoholic.
But I'm not mad at her. I mean, she's got like
No.
a hot guy making her gin and tonics when she gets home. I mean, can I get somebody to make me a vodka tonic when I walk in the door, please? Can I get that kind of service? Just saying.
I think it's just another thing that sets her apart from humans. It's another way to bring it home that she's not like other girls.
I think the most human thing about her is her emotions, her level of emotions about things. Like she get in her feelings about things, and that's really human.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah, some of it's vampire. The vampires are pretty passionate and territorial, right? So,
but they can hold it together, though. Like even during that time, where she was fighting old dude at the end, to save Noah,
the ogre or whatever.
That guy that's like beat her down basically.
And she rips his head off.
Bones was chilling. I mean, he looked at her like, "You want me to intervene here?" But he just kind of just stood back, and he didn't try to rescue her. She had to do the fight, so he was like, "Well, I'll just look here with this straight face."
I think if it had gotten to the point where she was in worse danger, he would have intervened.
Yeah, he might have.
Like, she was still up and fighting when she ripped the guy's head off. If he'd punched her one more time, she would have been down for the count, and I think Bones would have jumped in then.
Well, she did say she would have been disabled if he got me one more time on the side or something. Yeah.
I feel like it's a function of age. Like these vampires are 300-400 years old, and I think that's what gives them, Bones and Ian and those guys, the capability of appearing stone-faced when there's stuff going on inside. But I don't think it means they're not emotional. I think it means they're able to hide it.
Which to me is the most important thing. I mean, like, you never want people to see you cry, right? Or never let them see you sweat, right? That's what they say. So, like, you can be very angry, very pissed off, but don't show it, and she's not reached the level where she can maintain any kind of
stone face.
It's written all over your face. That's her. She can't.
I bet she'd be a terrible poker player.
Yeah.
No, it's Tate and Juan who are the terrible poker players. Remember?
I think that might be an inconsistency. Or maybe she just doesn't get emotional with those guys.
I don't think she gets that emotional with them, but they get drunk. It was like this passing paragraph where she's like, "Oh yeah, they come over, they get drunk, and they're already bad, but they get worse the more they drink." And I just sit back and I'm like, "Yeah."
And that's about her alcohol tolerance. That's not about her her poker face.
Yeah. Because she can't get drunk, really, or it takes a lot for her to get drunk. Let's put it that way.
Moonshine.
Yeah. We know it's possible, but it takes a lot.
It's funny, and that's just like another way she wins the guy's respect, and because guys are messed up that way. Like if you can hold your liquor, that's a thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
which is a weird thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never been in a situation where I had to prove myself with how much I drank. Thank God.
I have.
Oh, you have?
Yeah. And the key to that is faking it.
Oh.
So college drinking games. Like I worked for a group where I was one of like 3 women, and we partied a lot. We would go home from work every night and drink a lot. And we would do drinking games, and I would drink out of an empty beer can for like an hour.
Ooh, tricks!
Drinks. Okay, I got to do drink. Yeah, okay. Everybody, because it was games where other people would choose who had to drink, so the women all got ganged up on. So,
of course.
In my working life, I had a big dinner one time in Guadalajara, and we went out after a big thing at work, and there was 20 people at a big long table, and we went to a fancy tequila place, and like the people I was with got so melted. They were just liquefied, and and it was kind of funny. We got to the end, and I was in a different hotel from the rest of the people from a misunderstanding. And the one guy was like, "You can't go home by yourself. You'll get kidnapped and sold." And I'm like, if you're the only thing standing between me white slavers. I'm sorry, but it's still
I'm in trouble. If that's the only thing, I'm in trouble.
So, but yeah, they would, I just wasn't drinking and nobody paid any attention, but they would look over and like, okay, now you got it. So when I did do a shot, like I made sure everybody was looking. I was very flamboyant, like slammed the glass down like the chicken Raiders of the Lost Ark, and like everybody cheered, woo! But I had like maybe 3 shots after 4 hours or something, and everybody else was just pounding. So yeah,
I'll remember that for next time because now that I think about it, I did have a work situation where my manager reprimanded me for not drinking enough.
Yeah. That's nice. Or you
that
just
was some years ago.
Get tonic and lime and pretend that it's full of gin, right?
Yeah, they were doing shots, passing shots around. I passed on some of the shots. Yeah. I'm like, y'all want to get filthy, stinky drunk. Y'all not going to be talking about me because what's going to happen is I'm going to be the one that's being talked about as being as a drunk and not all y'all drunk asses. So, no.
Yeah.
Not me. Not today, sir.
My sister's wedding, too. She had a 3-hour gap between the end of her wedding and the beginning of the reception. So the bridal party was hanging out in the hotel, and the guys were all very fresh out of college, frat guys, and like they got really drunk, and they kept handing me shots, and I kept going, yeah, sure. Sink was right there, so just kind of tossed it in the sink. And like, yeah, this is great. I love Jägermeister.
Ugh. Ugh.
Moving right along. Yeah. We got a little off track there. I could talk a lot about drinking, but I have stories.
Yes. Okay, so is there anything else you guys think we should cover that was like important to the series thus far in the book?
Well, there's Denise.
Oh, yeah.
Denise, we never mentioned Denise.
Yeah.
She doesn't have a huge role, but she's like Kat's only friend, really. So
yeah, she's a human friend. She got chewed on by a vampire, and Kat saved her life, so she knows about the supernatural world.
And her boyfriend was key in that big scene where Kat was like
the wedding scene.
No, not the wedding scene, in the compound.
Oh, the compound scene.
Yeah, he's a hacker or something. And he was able to hack.
She gave him the passwords.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so that helped.
Like, I designed the system. You think I'm not going to put a back door in?
Right.
That was good. I liked it.
I just know that it was funny how like Denise just dropped into the story, and like that whole wedding was like the catalyst where Bones kind of comes across her like officially for the first time, and it's like, oh man, the look on her face, she's like, oh F. Like,
yeah.
Like, that was kind of
say today. It was awkward. It was so awkward.
Yeah, it was awkward, but
it was hilarious, and it was so much better than finding him in the cave.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
because you guys were talking about how you thought he was in the cave and like the build up, and it really does seem like he was there because they hear kitty, and it's all it's the cave,
right?
But to have that let down and let it be Danny instead, and then all of a sudden you're at this human wedding, this entirely human wedding where you wouldn't expect anything, and just there's Bones.
Yeah,
there he
I thought
is.
it was really funny.
Yeah, I actually want to know more about Randy, about Denise's husband. He seems like an interesting person, and I guess I shouldn't give any spoilers, but
no spoilers.
Yeah. So
I was so tempted to go there too, but I will not. We will refrain.
That's correct. Yeah, the wedding was epic. It was good.
I don't know. Did you guys believe, being that this was the first time we saw Denise, do you think we got enough like background information to like believe that that's her best friend? Like, did you feel satisfied like in this isolated moment, not thinking ahead? Like, did you feel satisfied with, this is her bestie, she earned that, they've been through it?
I didn't feel like there was a lot there, right? It was just, but 4 years is a long time, so I could see that she made a friend, and that she doesn't make friends easily, and she knows enough about her other life to be able to talk to her that in a way she couldn't talk to just anybody. But then she disappears because she got married and she can't be part of the rest of the book. So it felt a little, I don't know, light on substance, but I'm willing to take it as a seed for the future books.
Yeah, well said. I like that. I'll take the seed.
Yeah. Because if they'd done more with Denise, it would have bogged down with too many details, and there would have been too much just dragging out the plot.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like, they had their phone calls, they had their chats, they had their girl moments, but...
Well, this series is so drenched in testosterone, right? We were just talking about like all the things she does to be able to hold her own with the dudes, and it's nice that she has someone other than her crazy mother that she can talk to. So I like that she has
her life.
Yeah. And so the women don't come out well in this series in general, right? So there's Kat, who's objectively crazy, and her mother, who's awful. And in the first book, she gets almost sold by the one girl that sort of befriends her at school, right? So she doesn't really interact in a positive way with any women other than Denise. And of course, there's Annette. There's all of Bones' exes.
And Belinda.
And Belinda at least is, Belinda's like another Annette, only less important, right? She's like, oh, we banged, so you have to save me. And Kat's like, oh, guess what? That doesn't help.
Like, do I know
your situation?
No.
That does not help your situation.
Right.
Oh, honey.
Oh, honey, no.
So I like that there's another like semi-sane female in the series.
I did notice, like, we did have a huge introduction of new characters in this book. I mean, like, usually you get like one or two new. I mean, we have like, it felt like
a lot.
5 to 8 new people just drop into this book. It's what it felt like to me.
Yeah,
I didn't count them. It could be less, but
well, Ian and Mankira's, and we finally see her dad. I mean, dad, I guess, is not technically a new character, but.
I mean, it's the first time we see him, and there's all the humans, and Tate and Juan and Cooper and Dave and Don, and
like a ton of people.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Well, a lot of them were introduced in the first book. The crew that she works with were mostly introduced in the first book, but they get more fleshed out. Well, Cooper was in, not Cooper, but Juan was in the first book, I think.
He was?
No,
I
thought
at the very end. I don't know. Anyway. But yeah, they get much more fleshed out, and they get a personality, and we see their interactions. So yeah, the cast is quite large in this book. In the last book, it really wasn't. It was like Kat and Bones, her mom,
her grandparents.
Well, they didn't even talk. There was like no.
They talked twice, and then they got murdered.
Right.
Which is the catalyst for a lot of shit.
Yeah, and there was Danny, and then there was the roommate. The guy next door at the apartment.
Oh yeah,
Timmy. Which, did you notice the tidbit about Timmy in this book?
Yeah,
I'd never picked up on it before.
Yeah,
but
he's
after
writing
our
for
last
like the
chat,
National Enquirer.
Yeah, and he writes some good stories that they have to try to shut down every once in a while.
Discredit, yeah.
Yeah.
Dang it, we got to keep an eye on that guy. So, in the one of the last 2 or 3 Black Dagger books, there was a couple hints about a reporter and that Vicious is always trying to kind of squash. So I'm interested to see where that goes.
Yeah.
Side note, vampires.
Side note, yeah. It's relevant. I see how it matches. Okay.
I like to bring it all together.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so there were a lot of characters, and Noah, of course, which he really didn't achieve third dimension in this book.
No.
No. More of a placeholder.
I mean, honestly, this book is like really, their editor of this book is excellent. And the reason why I say that is because with so many characters and so many like side stories and like getting just enough to give us something but not overkill. I mean, they really shaved the fat for this to be like 357 pages and to have all it had in it. I mean, it's really lean as far as,
Yeah, and it goes fast. The pacing is so amazing. I've been reading, I've been having a real struggle finding a book since the holidays to really engage me. And I read a little bit and I put it down and I watch TV or play a game on my phone. I pick it up and read a little bit. This book is just I pick it up and I'm in it, and I'm in it till I have to stop and go to bed,
Mm-hmm.
So I love that about Janine Frost.
Yeah. It's a very quick reading book.
And even though she does a lot of time jumps, it doesn't feel that way. It doesn't feel, it's been 2 weeks. You don't feel that gap, if that makes sense. Am I phrasing that right?
Yeah, we've had this conversation before. I don't pay much attention to that. I'm just what happens in the story? And if there's time stretches in or happens, I don't care.
I mean, even from, it's been 3 months since Dave died. And it didn't feel like 3 months happened in this book. It feels like it happened really, really fast.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's
Sorry,
true.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you didn't. I'm thinking.
I feel like I like when time is marked only because, for me, because I think of things logically. Sometimes it's hard for me to just accept what's there without any supporting evidence. So for me, I like that the time is marked because, for example, if I can feel that you've been doing your own thing for 4.5 years, and then when you guys come back together, it seems real to me because I don't have to question, wait, how long have you guys, has it been 6 months or 5 months or how long? I like being clear on timeline.
Oh, yeah. I love
Speaking of timeline, when she started talking about her longevity, that was...
yeah. She's going to live forever.
I know. And she was so sure she was going to be old and wrinkled and dead in 100 years. And he's like, well, actually. And guess what? You haven't aged a day since I last saw you. So there's that. So,
hey, Don, how old am I?
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. She was like, what do you mean? You're 27. She's like, no, Don, or whatever her age is.
How old am I? Yeah, that was a great scene.
He caves. He's like, fine, you're 19. Okay. Your body is 19 or 20 or whatever.
Yeah, I really like how she interacts with Don. She just does not take any shit from him. And he's her superior technically, but she just does not let him forget that she's going to do things her way.
I think she earned that right when she found out that was her uncle. I think that completely changed how she was going to deal with him. I think she always kind of did deal with him a little harsher, but now she's like, I know what you don't want me to know. I know you've been keeping secrets from the team. I have a one-up on you. I can talk to you however I want to. And that's what she does.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But it went from I'm not going to let you take advantage of me to something more antagonistic, I think.
Calling you on your BS.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we've been talking for a while. Maybe we should rate the book. We should rate it. Who wants to go first? Anybody? Any takers? Okay, Nicola, you go first.
Yeah, so I'm going to call it a 5, and I'm calling it a 5 because of chapter 32.
Okay, Casey?
I'm also calling it a 5-star, but because of all of the chapters, I love everything about this book. Not all of the character development, but most of the character development and the pacing and the tension and the plot and the fact that so much shit happened in this little book. And then of course chapter 32 was just phenomenal.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it a 5 too. I gave it a 5 in 2013 and I'm giving it a 5 now. I really enjoyed myself. In spite of one paragraph in chapter 32.
I was going to say, I thought you might knock it down a star because of chapter 32.
No, I still love, I told you, I'll take the whole chapter minus this one paragraph.
Yeah.
But But yeah, I enjoyed it. It was fast and exciting, and I found myself chuckling out loud a couple times and just saying, "Oh my God, oh, I forgot that. Oh, that's so great." And when I give these audible reactions, that just ups the enjoyment for me.
And you want more.
Yes.
Reading a series, I think, is a little different than reading a standalone. So this has a good book arc, and you still want more at the end. It has a good closure on a phase, of their relationship and of her standing in the vampire community. But you still want more. There's more.
Absolutely. Okay, so before we wrap up the episode, we are going to talk about book 3 next, and that's At Grave's End. So if you haven't picked up your copy already, do so right away, because you're going to want to jump into that with us. And of course, if you are on Patreon, stick around and we're going to do our after show. But if not, thanks for tuning in, guys, and we will catch you next time. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed today's episode and would like to show your support, there are a few things you can do. Head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a positive 5-star review. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Most importantly, you can share this podcast with friends and family that love pop culture, from books and audiobooks to TV and movies. I'll see you next time here on the Shelf Addiction Podcast.